I tell you, my greatest fear was not only having to speak twice in celebrating Sophia Elijah, but having to follow my brother, this brilliant legal scholar. We call him Tree. So that was the most difficult thing to do. So I'm sitting up here thinking, boy, how am I going to figure this out? We served on the board of Trans-Africa for more than a decade. And we still, in every time there's some place where the work that needs to be done, the discourse that needs to happen, whenever it's around the ideas and what is manifest in the law, there's Charles Ogletree all the time. But we're here to celebrate another extraordinary legal mind. And I was sitting here trying to figure out, when did I first meet Sophia Elijah? And I couldn't figure out. It seemed as if we were together. I don't know whether it was Momia at some point in time, or whether it was, wherever it was, we were in each other's life. We were in each other's life because we were there at the right moment. As Ossie Davis used to say, whenever he'd come to some place, I'm here today because this is where I'm supposed to be today. And I'm thinking about this, but our relationship crystallized in the work around the Panther 8. And I remember all the things that do, all the traveling, all the ways in which she and our brother, our dear brother, who is no longer with us, Wayne Thompson, all the times in which we kept pushing, kept the fight going, even when we didn't know what was going to happen. Anything could happen in an administration that was bent on criminalizing men and women who stand up for justice. Any event, anyway, we didn't know what was going to happen. But since then, because there's a lot of political prisoners still incarcerated, still behind bars. I talked about Malia after tomorrow, but there are many other brothers and sisters who are still behind bars, who stood up and whose voices were crushed. And when we think about that now, as we talk about the incarceration rates and the repeal of the Rockefeller drug law, we must not forget those brothers and sisters who are still behind bars as political prisoners. Some is almost 40 years behind bars. We have to remember that as we talk about this right at the end of the day. Because yes, Sophia has gone on to another place. Now who would have thunk? Who would have thunk 167 years ago, when they would imagine they would have someone like Sophia Elijah? I hate to say it, baby, but I'm sure there's a whole lot of people turning over down under. Boy, what is happening here? Because we're going to talk about real justice. You know that she's going to be on the case, and she's going to be relentless. She's going to be relentless in the work that she does. She's going to change the nature of the way in which we look at that, because we're in a paradigm shift here. I mean, there's a paradigm shift here. When the Supreme Court said that California, your prisons are overcrowded, you got to do something about it. And that doing something about it was not building more prisons. We're in a paradigm, something's happening here. And that's because of you. Even though Sophia has left that struggle right on the ground where she was there in the ground, in the trenches, to take on this position. She has not left us, not one iota, not one moment. But as a young brother said, Danny Glover, You know, I want to meet you because understand, some of you guys been out there a long time, but there's some young cubs out here too. They're ready to go and ready to pick up the mantle. And Soffiyah knows that because she's trained a lot of them. I see women here, and the first thing they say here is they're being mentored by Soffiyah. So at the same time, we're here to celebrate this new position. We're here to re-galvanize and re-energize ourselves for the struggle that lies ahead. And if the voice somewhere in the distance, the clarion call somewhere in the distance says, this shit has to change. We have to really talk about reforming or abolishing the prison system. Then it starts right here with us. It starts right here in the community. It starts right here, bringing some of those brothers home and having them becoming a part of the community. And the devastation that they left, the devastation is still there. And we need their ingenuity. We need them to mentor those young brothers. We need to mentor those young brothers who may find some way, and we're looking for some way in which they could have meaning, bring meaning into their life. And the meaning in our life is through struggle. And through meaning in our life is through the work that we have to do, the way we have to plan for the future. And I know that right now, that I am celebrating this moment like we all are, but also I'm looking forward for the fight ahead. And the fight ahead is going to be a righteous fight. And I said before, as Paul Robeson used to say, we are climbing Jacob's ladder.
I really can't follow it. I don't know. Mine is the institutional role. I want to welcome everyone here on behalf of the organization, on behalf of the board of directors of the Correctional Association. My name is Peter Cobb. I am privileged to be chair of the board of this organization. And as chair, I am extremely privileged to have the opportunity to work with Soffiyah and to introduce her to you this evening. I know everyone here is a strong believer in the mission and the programs of the Correctional Association. I know everyone here is here to celebrate Soffiyah's arrival, to help push forward that mission, to enlarge it, to make it something even greater by mixing it with her vision. I will say that for me, celebrating her arrival is almost old news. She has been here. She's been our executive director since March 15th. This is the 15th consecutive Wednesday that I have spent time with Soffiyah talking about the issues and problems facing the organization. It is such a pleasure to work with someone who's so smart, has such good judgment, has such passion, commitment, and as has been noted, unbelievable energy. I don't know what my next assignment will be, but it's not going to be an easy one, I'm sure. I want to touch briefly on the particular issue that comes up every time I meet with Soffiyah, which is where will the Correctional Association get the resources, financial and otherwise, but mostly financial, to carry out not only our current mission, but the mission we want to carry out, and she wants to carry out. With rare exceptions, our activities are not government funded and should not be. In the best of times, fundraising for an organization with our mission in our society is a particularly heavy lift. In these times, it is a significant challenge. We rely totally on the support of foundations and individuals, many of whom are in this room and whose support I acknowledge and am extremely grateful for. This event is not a fundraiser, but having gathered so many supporters of our work, of Soffiyah, in one place, I am compelled to at least utter the famous mantra of fundraising, which is give early, give often, and then give again. We have in fact placed baskets and convenient little envelopes that you can write numbers on around the room. Facilitate your show of support before you leave. Nothing too small or too large will be unappreciated. The next part of my talk was to introduce Charles Ogletree, but he's left the building. And that was in the prior thing. So I have nothing more to do but to introduce Soffiyah to you all, give her an opportunity to impress you as much as she has been impressing us for the last weeks and months, and for the future weeks, months, and years. Thank you. Soffiyah.